Hello everyone. Today I want to talk to you about the Flatout Suspension SR. It's one of our more popular models just based on price. As I'm sure you're aware, the $800 to $1,400 category is really large. You have a lot of options. So I want to go over what you get with us and why you should have the SR on your car. So the one I'm showing for an example today is for a Porsche 911, a 996 Carrera 2 specifically. I chose this one because it's got a strut-based front and an A-arm rear. Your car may have a strut-based front and rear like a 93 to 01 Subaru Impreza. Or you could have A-arm in the front, A-arm in the rear like a NA or NB Mazda Miata. So this is just a good example, and let's get into it. Starting with the front, if you have a strut-based front, you're going to get camber plates. That's standard. If you really want rubber bushings and don't want a camber plate, we can do it, but you're going to get a camber plate standard. It also is going to have a radial bearing, which isolates the shock body and the spring, so when your car is turning, the spring can turn separately. This particular model has a mainspring and it has a tender spring or helper spring. And what that does is it allows you to retain maximum droop. So what it does is when the car is on the ground, it's actually going to compress this. So I'll just kind of show you here. It'll push that down, but everything's going to come together when there's weight here on the top. It's just going to push the whole assembly down to this point. So everything here down to here is going to get compressed. Everything here is obviously going to stay the same. The SR has 20 points of adjustment on this knob here. It goes from hard to soft. This particular model here, this lower portion here will actually go into the knuckle. So it'll slide into the knuckle to this point here. And if you want to reduce droop, what you would do is just unlock this ring here, give this a couple spins, and this bottom point here will actually raise up as you start threading it up the body. But right now this is set up for maximum droop. So it's going to be right in that center line between bump travel and droop. Another major thing that we do that we really promote is the electroplating. So as you can see here, the lower mount's electroplated as well as the shock body itself. And what that does is when it gets wet or any kind of salt and corrosion, it's going to create a barrier. Because what can happen is you'll get on a competitor shock, just for example, they come like this. They're black, you've seen them. What happens is, I'm going to try and angle this. You see this band right here? That's where the actual collars have worn away at the black paint. So what that does, that's exposing raw steel. This shock has never been used, believe it or not. It's brand new. It just had the rings on it. They were locked in place and then just removed. And not even driving on the car caused this band to happen. So what happens when aluminum from your rings and the raw steel touch, you introduce moisture, you get a process called galvanization, and you will see threads on forums or Reddit or just the internet asking, how do I get my rings unstuck? That's why. They basically chemically welded themselves to each other. With our electroplating, it creates a barrier between the steel and the aluminum. Not going to happen. These rings will always spin freely. Plus they're always going to look pretty. Just zap them with WD-40, give them a good wipe down, they're always going to look shiny and pretty. Let's move on to the rear. Alright, so moving on to the rear. Again, this is an A-arm setup here. So it doesn't have a camber plate, but it does have a spherical bearing in the top. Dual spring setup on this one in particular, just for the Carrera 2 model. Got your mainspring, your tender spring, electroplated shock bodies, and then on this one This has a sway bar mount, just like OEM. Some of the other aftermarket coilover options will actually give you a bracket that just threads on here, and you can like spin it around and it'll go up and down the shaft here, and you kind of get it in a position and then lock it in place. Those can shift over time, not really recommended, so we went with the OEM, no questions, just bolts right on. So that is the SR. This is priced at $1230. Puts us right in the middle of that wide category. 3-year warranty on these, 20-way adjustable. And if you can see this is the shock dyno.